So this video is for people who were absent on Thursday the 9th or Friday the 10th when we worked on the CER for worms. So what you're going to do in this assignment is you're going to look for evidence to prove which end of the worm is the head and which end of the worm is the butt of the worm. So worms, just like you, they have a mouth opening and then food travels through their body and then comes out their anus. And so they have one in tube and then one out. And so your job is to observe a worm and to pick up evidence that proves which end you think is the head and which end you think is the butt of the worm. So let me get a worm here. All right, so we have a worm here, and what I want you to do is observe first just its motion. So how is it moving? Which end is moving more or less than the other end? Because that can be evidence as well. And then when you are describing, like you've decided this is the head and this is the butt end of the worm, you notice that this end is darker and this end over here is lighter. And so you can use that to distinguish between the two. And also this end is pointier and this end is rounder. So when I poke it, it moves a little bit, but it's rounder and lighter, and this end is darker and pointier. So you can use that to distinguish between those two parts of the worm. So we'll observe that for a couple more seconds. All right, for this next part, what we're going to do is test to see, this is what we did in class, is to test to see if the worm responds differently on one end or the other when exposed to light. So worms don't have eyeballs, right? Because otherwise it would make it really easy to tell which end is the head because you just look for the eyes. Worms don't have eyes, but they do have the ability to sense light. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to extend my worm here, and I'm going to cover one side of it, and then I'm going to expose the other side to this bright light here. And we're gonna observe and see if we observe a reaction. All right, so not seeing a whole lot there. So now I'm gonna move my cover to the other side of this worm, and I'm going to again expose it to bright light. All right, so notice how we got a very different response from one end. So the end we did first is the lighter or rounder end, and the end we did second was the pointier or darker end. So that provided, I think, some pretty good evidence for which end was the head, since we got such a different response from the two parts of the worm. All right, for this next part, I have some food here. So I have a little piece of strawberry on a stick, and I'm gonna hold this strawberry near one end or the other, and we'll observe and see if you see a reaction. Alright, I didn't see much of a response there, and then I'm going to try just gently touching the worm as well with my strawberry. And again, not seeing much of a response on that end. So now let's try this end. Move the paper towel a little bit. So I'm just going to hold that near the worm. And so there you're seeing a pretty definite response, and also what I would describe as exploring behavior. So this pointy, darker end of the worm here is exploring the strawberry, kind of moving around it. Worms don't have noses, but they are able to sense, when food is nearby, so they can find it. Okay, and for this final activity, I have a little bit of vinegar here on this cotton swab, and I'm going to hold that just like I did with the strawberry. This spot right here, this is not blood, that's strawberry. So I'm gonna hold this cotton swab near the ends of the worm, and we're gonna observe to see if we get a response. So this is vinegar, and vinegar is, the thing that goes into pickles. It's pretty sour, and so it's not gonna kill the worm, but it's also not something that they like. And so it's something that's kind of irritating to them because of its high acid content. And so worms aren't attracted to vinegar. So I'm gonna extend my worm friend here. So the ends are separated, and we'll start with this end over here, and I'm just gonna hold it near the worm. Alright, and then I will take it and I will gently touch this end of the worm with the vinegar. So you can see that response there was pretty immediate. Let's do it one more time. See? And they they moved pretty quickly away. Now let's try this end. So again, I'm going to hold it here near this end, just like I did before. And again, just like before, I'm not seeing a whole lot of response. So I'm going to touch the worm gently. Got a response there, but definitely not exactly the same kind of response that I got from the other side. So hopefully if you're watching this video, you now have decided which end is the head and which end is the butt. And also you can now provide at least 3 pieces of evidence on the CER paper that support your answer.